I became the first British ski racer to win a One World Cup. And I remember being like, oh my God, my good enough is good enough. If you always live without fear, you're living at 80% of yourself. The only way to find fear is to be 100% of you, to go all in with everything.
Welcome back to Dive Beyond Sport, the podcast where performance meets humanity. Today's guest is Chemmy Alcott. Chemmy, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, I love that. Was so dramatic. It was like, do. We're in. So we've gone in. We're profound. We're heavy. We've got the tone on.
That's great. Well, that's the first time that we've actually used this intro. So that's good response.
Yeah. I'm empowered.
Nice. I love it.
Good immediate feedback.
So to start this all off, Chemmy, I heard this story that really kind of piqued my interest. I thought it was really funny that for a long time you were telling people that you won your first ever race. So like you won it, and telling people for a long time because you had this gold medal and this teddy bear or something. And then eventually your dad told you that, wait a minute, you got to stop saying that you won this because you actually didn't. Is that true?
So I want to talk about being a child prodigy because I didn't actually win the Olympics, but I thought if I'd been doing this career for so long, maybe I've got a little bit of that note start. I was really good when I was young. And then I was like, I found this teddy in storage, which had a gold medal around its neck. I found this teddy about 20 years ago. And on the back, it said Chemmy, age 3, gold medal. So I'm like, boom, first race, age 3, ski racer from London. I win it. And that's it, right? That's my pathway. So I talked about this for about those 20 years in interviews, people saying, did you know you were good? And I was like, well, yeah, I was actually really good at 3. I won this race. And finally, my dad calls me. He's like, can you stop lying? I'm like, what do you mean lying? And he said, I keep reading this and I've let you say it for a long time, but you didn't win that race. And I said, yeah, I must have been fast. Right? He said, everyone under 5 got a teddy with a gold medal around its neck. And I was like, oh, but come on, must have been good. And he said, you stopped to give me, your dad, who was videoing, a kiss on the way down. And I was like, oh, I wasn't very fast then. He's like, no, but I never did that again. I never stopped to give any man a kiss in a race afterwards. So lesson learned. But yes, no, that was, a bit of a humility moment for me where my dad put me back in my box.
That's hilarious. I mean, it's such an early age to get into a sport, and well, I guess at 3 years old you didn't know where the sport was going to take you or what you wanted from the sport, or I don't know when the dream of the Olympics became a thing for you. But obviously, starting a sport at that age means that your parents must have been heavily involved in the start point. My parents, for example, had never dived before, didn't really do much in the water, didn't really do much sport in general. So when I started diving, it was my thing and I could build my identity around it 100%. I loved it. I wanted to do it every single day. For you, with your sport being so intertwined with your family, how did you go on to develop your own identity in your sport as you progressed?
That's really interesting. I think skiing in a household full of people gave me an opportunity to be heard and to be different. So my background is my dad was a rugby player and my mum was a swimmer. Are you going to put out images with this? So I've got my dad's glutes. You can see they're still there. I've got my mum's lungs. So I always say that I was made to be a skier, but they weren't allowed to ski when they were participating in their careers. So when they retired, they went skiing to this place in Flaine, which is a tiny resort in France, and they fell in love with it. They fell in love with it so much that they, for £12,000, bought an apartment there, this tiny little French apartment. And then they had my brothers. So by the time I was born, my 2 older brothers were already racing. So my oldest brother had been talent spotted by French ski school and he was racing. And then at 18 months old, so I'm born in July, and my second Christmas I was skiing. And I always just wanted to do what my brothers were doing. I'm an incredibly stubborn, annoying younger sister. And I was like, right, whatever toy he's playing with, I want to play with. And he was playing with skis. Well, I want to play with skis. Oh, he's good on skis. I want to be better at skis. And I realized in this whole, we had a very passionate upbringing, very loud, you know, I'm quite vivacious and extroverted, and that's how we all are. And I realized that I could define myself very early on in life by being really good at something. And I chose skiing. I completely went all in. So I knew, like, and as an underage, under 10 racer in the UK back then, we didn't have girls and boys gender specific racing. We were all together. And I always think I got a lot of strength from this time because I raced against the boys, and it was always a win-win situation, right? Because if I beat the boys, I was like, yeah, boom. And if I didn't beat the boys, everyone would say, well, you're a girl, you're not supposed to. So for me, that just, you know, gave me that intensity of, right, I'm going to show you. But it meant that I elevated my game, and I wanted to just be the best. It didn't matter who I was or where I was from. So I defined myself really early on. I found this definition of, right, I can be heard in this crazy, noisy world of mine by being good. And I want to be good at skiing.
Wow, that's super interesting. And I mean, how, so you're
there's actually quite a lot of stats out there. There's a lot of stats if sorry, I just completely interrupted you, Freddie, but there's a lot of stats that if you are a young girl and you've got older siblings, male boys, brothers, you will have this heightened drive, determination, stubbornness. And a lot of, like, I remember looking to England Roses last year when they were dominating, and loads of them are younger sisters. And I feel like it gives you that kind of chip and that edge on your shoulder, that ferociousness that, you know, I didn't really know I was a girl. I remember going, I mean, I'm going completely off piece now, but I remember at 13 going into my first meeting with an agent, and them sitting there and them talking about me as this product. And they're like, right, you've got long blonde hair. You're not allowed to cut your hair. We're going to own your image because we want to market you as this little girl doing this crazy adrenaline thing. And I was like, what do you mean I'm a girl? Genuinely, I was like, all right. And I was like, oh, you're going to use my gender to sell me so I can do more skiing. And it was quite a strange at that age pathway for my head to go in, that I could use how I looked, even though I didn't associate myself with being a girl. Like, I was such a tomboy. I was throwing myself down mountains by then. But then I was like, well, I just want to ski. So if this is going to give me more money to be able to back my skiing, then right, whatever. But this agency ran like my image. I could only have my haircut at their hairdressers because this was this image that they were building. It's crazy. I don't know if you get away with this now, but that's what happened.
I actually just finished reading a book by Susie Wolf, the racing driver, and she was talking about very similar things, how she didn't really see herself as a girl growing up. She was just a racer, along with, I think she had a brother.
Yeah.
They were racers. That's it. Simple as that. And it must have been the same for you. Like,
yeah,
you're a racer.
Yeah.
You're used to that rough and tumble with your siblings, and that builds character, it builds resilience, it builds an ability to just want to win no matter what, which is what creates a good athlete,
I don't want to give them too much credit, but my brothers did help form me into this incredible, determined, ferocious young girl. They also used to tickle me until I peed. So now no one can tickle me because I have this physical outcome where that happened. So no, that they went too far then.
That's so
I've
good.
never said that on the podcast before.
I love that.
That's not a revelation I was expecting in the first 10 minutes of the podcast. I'm not going to lie.
I love it. Well, to make you feel better, I'll embarrass my girlfriend now, because when we actually first met, we performed in shows together. In between the shows, we would always hang out just as friends. And she said her memories of us first meeting is just like us laughing together and her peeing herself regularly because we were just having a good time.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. And then you have kids and it happens all the time, just to let you know. I mean, that's your future. But anyway, pelvic floor is key, guys.
Well,
let's get back on track.
Let's get back on track. Well, but what you what you said, like, just one thing, it reminded me a little bit of we spoke to Ali Jawad in season 1, who was a Paralympic Olympic medalist in powerlifting. But he said, though, his parents like never treated him differently. They forced him into a normal school. And so basically he didn't really have legs. And so he just walked around on his arms. And And he didn't even realize he was different. Like there's nothing like what
That was his norm.
That was my. What do you mean? I'm just this is how I walk, and it obviously it's different, but it kind of reminded me of that and how kind of like powerful like that inner belief of like who you are is.
Yeah, it's like you're reframing all of your strengths, disregardless of where you come from. You know, I used to be obsessed with athlete autobiographies, and I know we're talking about this at the very end, but I was like, right, I don't really understand how I'm going to be the best in the world at skiing, because I've had so much support from my parents, physically, financially, everything is on a plate for me to be the best. And all these athlete biographies were people who'd overcome some massive adversity to be the world's best. I mean, I was obsessed with Lance Armstrong and how he was able to come back. And obviously that's been tainted now, but still it seemed that everyone succeeded because they weren't supposed to succeed. And I had these real torment within me because I was like, well, I'm succeeding. I'm supposed to succeed. I'm following this demographic, this pathway of being a ski racer, going to private school. So I should be the best, but it actually limited me in my freedom. And then unfortunately, actually things started to unravel when I was 23, but it gave me the edge. It really did.
And just, I mean, there's some stuff in there that I would love to talk about later on, Chemmy, but just quickly back onto like the male female thing. I think I heard you say that you felt like you were kind of part of the last generation of female athletes that were kind of allowed to like say you were going to be great.
Oh no, I was the first. I'll tell you this story.
Oh, the first.
So
okay.
Yeah, so when I got into World Cup at 17 years old, I was finally racing against all of these heroes of mine, these peers. And I remember the first World Cup I went to, and you're all hanging out together, and I was trying to be cool, but I was massively in awe of them. But I also really quickly noticed that they were all completely suppressing their femininity, as if in order to be their best, they had to talk like men. And obviously what we do is dangerous. You're going 80, 90 miles an hour. There's a lot of adrenaline in it. Notoriously, men have succeeded in this world more than women in the very, past. And it was like these women who I'd held on this pedestal for so long thought that they couldn't really be who they were. And I was very lucky to start racing in an era of Lindsey Vonn, who's actually back now racing. And Lindsey Vonn was the greatest downhiller of all time. She embraced her femininity. Every morning she gets up at 6 o'clock. She still wears a full face of makeup, eyeliner. She goes out there. She races completely on the limit, destroys her competition, including myself, on a men's downhill ski. And so she and a few other us, we were trying to show that you can be fast and feminine. Because by this point, I'd done my U-turn, right? I'd grown up being a tomboy. Then I'd been marketed as this girl. And then I'd realized that actually being a woman was my superpower. My mum also in this interim did a degree in women's liberation. So I was a massive feminist. So I was like, actually, I'm really comfortable now with being a woman and skiing on the limit and taking this risk. And this is something that we need to salute and to use to empower others. So actually, nowadays, you get every kind of female athlete on the World Cup Tour. There's so much authenticity because we celebrate individuality. So you could go out there, you can, do photo shoots however you want, or you don't have to be that extrovert. You can be introverted. Everyone's got their different story to tell. But it was like when I got into the sport, there was a mold. It was like, walk like a man, ski like a man. We're not men. We're not men. We're better being ourselves, and we are women.
What was the response of the idols that you had when you walked on with your, I guess, feminine persona? Was there like any
I completely got
or...
judged. I got judged, and even the press, and I still get judged now. Like when I'm out there filming for TV and I've got a face of makeup, I see all these other people in the piece judging me, saying, "What's that dolly bird?" And then I literally look them in the eye and cut them up at like 60 miles an hour. I'll show you. And I can't suppress that massive ego that I have. But I got judged, and the press, they call me like the Kournikova of skiing, which obviously some flattery in there because Anna Kournikova is beautiful. But at the same time, I was like, why does this matter? Talk about my performance. I look this way for me. Like I wear makeup for me. I'm building my inner confidence by choosing how I present myself to the world. But I'm here to deliver performance. And so you have to back yourself. And it's easier for someone like Lindsey Vonn. Like Lindsey Vonn is really takes a lot of care of her looks, but she wins again and again. For me, who wasn't winning again and again, you know, maybe I shouldn't have kept going with bringing out my inner confidence from how I wanted to look, but I stuck with it, and I'm really proud that I did.
Yeah, well, I mean, were there any points where you really questioned it? Because on one side, you're being told by the agency to look one way, and then you're being told by the media that you should look and do other things. And, you know, sometimes when performances don't quite hit to the level that you want, does that create questions? And were there any times that you had serious questions about whether you should continue with your gut instinct?
No, because I have always backed myself, and I am driven by confidence, and how I've come back from injury is because I believe in myself. If I start not being authentic, if I start suppressing who I am away from the sport, that will affect my performance in the sport. But it takes a lot of guts and thick skin to do that. Like, a lot of people would become the person that everyone was telling them to become. Oh, you know, don't care about how you look and you're ski faster. Why are those two even affected by each other?
It's, to me, that shows so much strength. I think personally, that's something that I struggled with. And in my position, so I finished 19th in the Olympic Games. What did you finish? Was it 19th in Sochi? Or maybe I'm getting those models up.
Twins, 19th twins in Sochi, yeah.
So woo! So I was just kind of reading about that, and obviously just felt that little bit of association there. But I know for me, given my position in the sport, like not one of the best, not one of the guaranteed divers that were going to go to the big events necessarily, but like close to it, I felt pressure to, I was always looking at other people as to how I should be doing and what I should be doing. And so I kind of really admire that determination.
I think I was luckier, Freddie, because I didn't have social media. I think that was really helpful to me. That wasn't around.
Yeah.
So the comparisons and the attacks, they seemed a bit more distant. Nowadays, because of social media, you get told, you feel it. You know, you might post something silly and funny, and it accidentally, this just happened to me this week, it accidentally has gone viral. And anytime something goes viral, you get attacked from it. And you have that opportunity where people think they have access to you. Now they can like get to you. Whereas back then I didn't have that. And that was so helpful. Like, I feel for all the athletes now who have to absorb all of this, because you can get 100 great comments. You can get 100 great people saying, hey, that dive was great. And then you'll have one person saying, why did you care about, how you looked on the platform? And that will affect you. But you've got to be bigger than that person.
You mentioned injuries and, and the comeback from your many injuries. I think I saw something saying you had 40 broken bones or somewhere around there, including a broken neck. That's unbelievable. First of all, I had my first injury a year and a half before I retired from my sport. I managed to make it through without anything major. And obviously your upbringing and everything that you experienced helped create that strength to be able to come back. Obviously it's part of your sport, but how did you actually bounce back from each of those injuries? It must have been just a repetitive frustration and heartbreak each time you came back and something went wrong again.
I mean, I'm going to go into this a completely different way than you think, because I am so proud of every time I got hurt. Every time I got hurt and every time I crashed was a time where I had the confidence to take the risk and go completely all out. And there's such a fine line in skiing between success and ultimate disaster. But I am proud every time I got hurt, because it showed that I was pushing my limit. And you have to do that in order to perform better every day. And actually, I have an 8-year chunk of my career where I didn't crash once. And that's because at this point, going into that period, I had a huge amount of investment externally in me. I was one of Sir Clive Woodward's prodigies. There were loads of new people coming on board to make me the best that I needed to deliver. And I couldn't handle the expectation, the pressure of this massive team of people whose happiness I felt was dictated by my performance. And so what I did was the only thing I could control was I could control how much risk I took. And I chose to ski 80% because I was so so crumbled by fear that if I went 100% and didn't win, I'd have to admit to all of these people that I wasn't good enough. So the only way I could control that was to go 80% and keep 20% in my back pocket to validate why I wasn't winning. So I was like, then I know I'm going to be top 20 and it's the best, in the UK right now. And it's so incredibly unsatisfactory. I didn't get injured once in those 8 years. I didn't crash. So turning your question around, every crash that happened, that's a great day, because that's a day that I had the confidence to go all out, because the only way I could deliver my potential was to go 100%. Now, 100% in a sport like skiing might mean standing on that podium, but it also might mean a helicopter away in 2 years, getting back to the sport.
It's such an interesting perspective, and it's such a powerful perspective as well, because the way that you said, the more resources and the more support you had, the more people that were potentially there to let down. And then therefore you hold yourself back. And I've probably not looked at it in that way before in other people, but it's probably something that is quite common that people wouldn't normally admit to.
Yeah, I mean, I was the only girl from Britain doing what I was doing, and I remember I'd be there and I had a team of 3 grown men who traveled with me, a technician, a physio, and a coach. And when I had a great day, it was just amazing. We'd have amazing dinners together. But when I had a bad day, I would see these grown men cry. Like, my performance was affecting them as human beings. And that is a really hard thing for a 17, 18-year-old, athlete, it doesn't matter what gender, to take on. And I think I started realizing that I couldn't differentiate Chemmy the person away from my performance. I thought that I was happier when I was faster, because when I was faster, I was more popular, I had more friends. And I lost a little bit of confidence in myself in that period, because I defined who I was just by where I finished on the scoreboard. And you guys all know exactly where this is coming from. But I think a real athlete is someone who can be confident in themselves regardless of confident and happy in themselves as a human being, knowing that they are an amazing human being who has the opportunity to have a name on that scoreboard, to perform in this elite world. But that doesn't define you. And it's really hard to separate the two. And I think also because I have this quite unique name of Chemmy, I was Chemmy the skier. I was completely defined by my sport, by being a person. And that is something that if I have the opportunity to let my sons become elite sports people, that is one thing I will drill into them, that I don't love them more when they're fast or when they're succeeding. And I think it's really hard, but your inner circle around you has to do that. And what happened was my inner circle exploded to all these people I didn't really know who just wanted me to perform. And so I couldn't.
I remember thinking that for Tom Daley and Jess Ennis in particular for London 2012, they were like the male and female poster people for the Olympic Games in the UK. And obviously being close to Tom, just thinking like, I mean, I always used to admire Tom for that, like his strength in a sport like diving. And again, it's similar to skiing in many ways, in that the margin between an excellent dive and a failed dive and you're out of the competition is so close. And the stakes are really high. And so I used to really admire Tom for that. And I actually at times like put myself into their shoes and just thought like, well, I don't know if I could have handled that. So I honestly admire that. And like Yona said, I really admire you even just like admitting that whole like 80% thing. To actually come out and say that is... Yeah,
it was actually quite... It's really hard to say that, amazing. Isn't that? Because I wish I could have known it at the time. You can only help yourself out by knowing that. But I couldn't be honest with myself at the time. And I was like, okay, I'm coming 20th. Maybe that's all I've got. And then the demons start coming. And actually it's only because I put myself in a run in Solden in 2008 where I could go all out that I realized that my 100% was okay, was good enough. But I wish I could have known that in those 8 years, because those were my 8 years where I had the potential to win. I was winning in training all the time. And then people start saying, oh, you're king in races. But I wasn't choking because it was a choice. I was underperforming.
So then taking like all of this into consideration and like the identity issues and the fear, obviously from an outside perspective, you might think like the fear in ski racing is the fear of injury, but actually to you, biggest
No.
fear was expectation.
Expectation, fear of failure. Yeah. And that's really horrible that it was external. It wasn't internal. Like, you always think you should innately be scared of going down a mountain 80 miles an hour. Like, there should be an inside fear and self-preservation. That is actually really helpful.
So what got you out of that frame of mind at that time? Was it a realization, or did it happen accidentally?
So it was a World Cup in Solden in October, which is one of the first World Cups of the year. Men and women race the same track. It's a really gnarly track on a glacier, super steep, super long, lungs burning, heart burning. I could never sleep before the race. I'd have so much tension and expectation and excitement. You've done a massive block of training. I was absolutely dominating in training. I just had to ski like that. And then I overcooked it on the first run. I tried too hard. And you only get a second run in World Cup if you're top 30. And I was 31st. So I'd let everyone down again in the car driving away. And then someone was disqualified and I was back in. So we did this like U-turn up the mountain. I was like in the start gate, completely ill-prepared, frantic. And I finally thought, you know what? I don't give a monkeys. Let's just go. Let's just flow. Let's be fierce and not look for perfection, because we haven't addressed that yet, but I'm a massive perfectionist, which in a sport like skiing is not helpful. And I had the wildest run of my life. Imperfect, every technique that I shouldn't have been doing. I did the whole steep on my inside ski. And I won the run. I became the first British ski racer to win a run World Cup. And I remember being like, oh my God, my good enough is good enough. I am good enough, my 100%. And I remember I was so happy. I was in the finish, so happy. And my coaches came down and they were like, yeah, well done. And I thought, oh, I'm there like, woo, 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 giving it all this. But they were like, well, we knew you could do it. We've believed in you this whole time. For us, this isn't a surprise. Whereas for me, it was almost a surprise. It's like, oh gosh. Now, unfortunately, that was my 100%, right? I'm like, okay, I've got it now. I've got this growth mindset. I've got this freedom. Then I started getting hurt. I got hurt 3 weeks after. It was one of my first. I just broke my ankle. And so that was an unfortunate progression of that. But I have never been more proud of the fact that I found that 100%, because some people don't. Some people can't. Some people sandbag their whole career and don't understand why. So the fact that I got to make that change and I get to talk about how to make that change. And I didn't win any World Cups after. I just started getting hurt. But that's why my injuries, my scars, my weird growth on my leg. Can you see that there? Can you see this? My scar?
Oh yeah, I can see that. Oh, goodness
So that's
me.
my broken leg. Yeah. So that's always broken there.
That's unbelievable. I mean, first of all, I guess it doesn't happen very often where someone comes back from finishing 30th maybe on the first run and actually finishing the first run, not crashing, all the way to first. Like, that must be quite a large difference. But you do see it often in sports
I finished 10th. I only finished 10th.
Sorry, Karen. Okay.
I only finished 10th because unfortunately they add both times together.
Ah, okay. Oh, so your second run was fastest out of everyone, but then overall you finished 10th.
Yeah.
Okay. But then, I mean, even so, it shows like the how much you were holding yourself back, essentially. But you do see it in athletes who are probably tipped to win or tipped to do really well, get a medal, whatever. And then in the prelim phase or whatever early stage, because they're scared of failing or holding themselves back or not fully able to commit, they will maybe just sneak through. And then that is like a huge reality check for them. And then in the final, they're able to like let it go and dive really well. For me, actually, it was often the opposite, because I knew that I had to be at my best to make it through the prelims and just get into the semi-final. So I gave my own prelims, dived really well, and then struggled to get back to that level again in the semi-final and final, right? So often I missed out on the medals because I couldn't quite reach the same level of performance. But what was interesting for you is that obviously you held yourself back, but you didn't get injured. But then you gave 100% and then you got injured. So you weren't maybe able to achieve what you could have achieved if you were able to judge give it your all, give 100% at the right times. Is that something that ever like crops up, or it's something you can only think about
Yeah,
in
I mean,
hindsight,
if
obviously you don't know
if I
that
unpack
in the
that,
moment.
if I'd been able to find 100% earlier on in those 8 years when I was younger and healthier, then maybe the injuries wouldn't have happened, you know. But everything happens for a reason. Like, I have learned far more about myself as a human being than most athletes do their whole career when they're winning week in, week out. Because going through adversity and picking yourself up from injury and realizing that you have an incredible amount of passion for this sport. Like, the only reason I kept coming back to it is because I absolutely love to ski. Like, to be able to still be in this industry that I absolutely love, which doesn't have a lot of career pathways from the UK, is unbelievable because I absolutely love it. Like, I had a day off today, so the first thing I did was go and rip 3 hours of skiing. I mean, find retired athletes who are completely broken who still go and do that. So it's, you know, it's part of me. So I'm really proud that I did get there, and I didn't get there the way that the world says is successful, but I got there in a way that I believe has made me the most successful that I can be as a person.
Oh, that's invaluable. I mean, in a way, that's, I think maybe that actually kind of encompasses exactly what we sort of are trying to share and discover on this podcast. It's actually that sort of message. It's like beyond, yes, as an athlete, you know, people are incredible, but you know, yeah, you are a person. There's so much more to a kind of successful, valuable life. But it's funny what you said as well. Like, me and Yona, I think in our last recording, we even said that we wouldn't call each other up now to go dive together, if we're being completely honest.
Yeah.
And we love diving. Like, we absolutely wouldn't change it for the world. But it's like, hey, bro, let's just like put our speedos on and you know.
Although that being said, it's coming up to
I know.
it's coming up to the 10-year anniversary of my first ever international medal, and I actually want to get back in to do the dives that I did in 2016, just to see if I've still got it.
Do it. Yeah, I'd love
That's
it.
I'm kind of scared though.
That'd be so good. Fear is good. That's what will drive you.
So true. You're so right.
And Chemmy,
You've got to
obviously
take responsibility for that. You said it now. Live by it.
Well, I actually, because you mentioned perfection earlier on, and I think I've heard you say that the pursuit of excellence versus the pursuit of perfection, and I thought that was a really good way to kind of put it side by side.
Well, perfection is a parody. It doesn't actually exist. So you're chasing something that's not there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we think that we see it in social media and other people, but that's all filtered. None of it is real. So actually, my search to be perfect was really limiting and resulted in a huge underperformance because I just wanted to make the perfect turn. Now, the perfect turns aren't the fastest turns. The fastest racers on the world are people who go on their limit and continually recover and make those recoveries and adapt quickly. That's how they are the best. Perfect turns are slow. They look pretty, but they're not fast. And so I really struggled with that a lot of my life. And maybe it's also because I cared. I started caring what people thought. I knew that people were saying I was choking. So I was like, right, I'm going to go back to that technique lab and make a perfect turn. So I was so obsessed with, you know, ticking all those books technically that I forgot about what makes a fast skier, and that's the freedom to just fly and skill. And ironically, my best friend during this whole period is Julia Mancuso, who's, I think, the most successful American Winter Olympian ever. And she is a high performance, high pressure athlete. The more pressure there was, the better she performed. And it's because she never tried to control anything, and no one could ever control her. Even like when we had our physical programs, I would try and tick every box. So I'd be going to the gym, lifting weights, and then doing this. If the surf was good for her in Maui, she'd just go surfing all day. She's like, whatever. And because she had that freedom and she took responsibility for it, when the pressure came on, she backed herself.
So then, in terms of identity as well, obviously you've said how much you loved skiing, and even after retiring, like you'll always be a skier, right? But obviously there is still a massive identity shift there. So, and I mean, for you, which has been, there's a few things here, right? But which has been the most challenging identity shift? Obviously, retiring from the sport and becoming involved in the media and broadcast and also business and a mother and these sorts of things. So, what is that identity shift?
That's a very good question. I didn't have a choice to retire. So it's quite a long story, but I broke my legs 3 years in the 4 years preceding Sochi Olympics. I skied for 4 minutes in a competitive environment before I got to Sochi. And then everyone was expecting me, even Graham Bell was there with a mic at the bottom of the Olympics, ready to hear my retirement announcement, because that's what just people thought, oh, she's doing this to get back to the Olympics. And then I had my Olympic run. I was full of adrenaline. I was 1.8 seconds off the lead, and I was 19th. Yay, Freddie, 19th. And I was so proud. And it wasn't my best performance. I've come 11th in the Olympics twice, but it was the most amazing performance for the preparation that I had. And I was like, I love this. Why would I retire? I'm going to keep going. And everyone's like, no, you're absolutely broken. You need to. I was like, no, I'm going to keep going. And then I went to the next World Cup, which was in Cran, Montana, and I crashed. And my leg did not feel amazing. And I drove to Zurich on the way to flying up to a World Cup in Sweden. And I saw my surgeon. I'm like, right, hey, buddy, just check my leg out. It feels really weird. It's like clicking. And he said to me, I saw what it meant to you to get to that Olympics. And that's why I did that crazy surgery on your leg. If you crash now skiing with G-force that it takes and it's required to be a downhill ski racer, your leg will break and I will have to amputate your leg from the knee down because you don't have any bones holding it together. And obviously I was quite shocked, but at the same time, I needed someone to make that decision about the rest of my life in skiing. Otherwise I would have kept going because I absolutely love the sport. But him telling me that I was jeopardizing my future love of skiing, because although I love racing, ski racing is more from A to B. It's like this whole amazing mountain and this gratitude that I have for this life. And so he made that decision for me. And then it wasn't really a decision. It was like, right, okay, I have to do this because I want to be 80 still ripping around the slopes. So retirement was actually quite easy. It was like, right, okay, I don't have a choice. This is what has happened to my body now. And I'm going to stay in this world. I'm going to find my way. I love talking. I love skiing. So let's combine the two.
Throughout your career.
Motherhood, to answer your question, what was harder? Motherhood, right? Even trying to get pregnant, right? I'm an athlete, so I know what my body needs. I know when I'm ovulating. I know everything. I'm like, right, okay. Let's go to Bali. We decided to have a baby. So I'm like, right, we'll go to Bali when I'm ovulating. We'll never get it on more than that. And that'll be it. And then we came back from Bali and I said, oh, my boobs are sore. Oh, no, that's a period. And I was like, okay, so that didn't work. 19 months of controlling the process, going, right, I know my body. And we didn't get pregnant. And my husband's 5 years younger than me. And I started thinking, it's definitely me. And then actually I tore my ACL and I had to chill out. I stopped drinking coffee because I was addicted to caffeine. Again, I've gone off piste here. Sorry, guys. And this is very, very weird to tell two young men this. But my body was massively in fight or flight. Like my adrenals were going crazy. I'd retired from skiing, but I was like, woohoo, where's the next risk? Where's the next 100 mile an hour? So my body couldn't have a baby. And then I tore my ACL. I had to chill out and we made a baby. And then I thought, okay, right, I've done that challenge. And then Lockie comes and I'm like, oh my God, but I'm a superstitious athlete. I need 8 hours of sleep. I need like my structure. I had none of that. And then there was this thing. I'd come from being this massively selfish existence of life being about me to going, this child, survival, I am responsible to that. I'm like, how do I do this? So that was the hardest thing. As parents, working parents, all amazing. It's so hard.
Well, I mean, you said it was off piste, but actually it's exactly what we're talking about because it's all applicable. It's all part of the athlete story. And, we train our bodies in a certain way and we train our minds in a certain way. And then once we let go of that sport, it's like, how do you feed that desire and that ego and that will for competition and will for, I don't know, like a thrill, essentially, especially,
Yeah,
probably quite similar in terms of we throw ourselves off a board over and over again because one, we're good at it, but two, we definitely get a bit of a thrill out of it, which we enjoy. And when we retire, there's definitely a piece of us that misses that a little bit. Yes, I don't miss getting into the pool every day because it was cold and the chlorine and all this, but the feeling of flying through the air and doing the somersaults and the challenge of trying to get it perfect is amazing. And it must be the same for you, like the thrill of throwing yourself down the mountain and navigating all these turns and trying to get the fastest time.
You can't switch it off.
If you piece it together, exactly, and that's exactly it. That's exactly it. And
it's always there, and you have to.
Yes.
You have to make friends with the fact that it's going to be your superpower in some worlds. Like, I'm so ambitious. I'm so confident. I'm way too competitive in everything. Like, I'm incredibly annoying at times to my friends. I love paddle, but I also love smashing that ball, whoever's at the net. And I can't turn it off. So I have to realize that sometimes all of these skills I learned as an athlete are going to be my strengths. And sometimes they are not. But as athletes, we know ourselves inside out. We know ourselves through dark times. We know ourselves through success. And you have to just make friends with that and you know, take the piss out of the times where I am so over the top playing thumb wars. I mean, who tries to win thumb wars every time they play? I mean, I can chill out sometimes, but I can't.
My girlfriend's a netball player, and we have the occasional thumb war, which is exactly as you talk about. It's just ridiculous.
With a netball player, I mean, they're gonna.
Do you feel like that's a reason why you stayed so close to the sport, so you can almost get that vicarious feeling of what it is like to be an athlete? Because I feel like that's why I've stayed close to the sport, for the same reason.
Sunday,
you know, I'm basically involved in it.
Yeah, on Ski Sunday, I get to do camera runs. And they are the most petrifying things ever, because I'm still throwing myself down these World Cup downhills. But now I'm doing them when physically I'm not as strong as I used to be. And I'm also talking to a camera in front of me, like a massive distraction from the focus, the hyper focus that you need to get that screens. But the rush is unbelievable. Like, I love training for it. I mean, I can't sleep for about 3 days beforehand. And I think I'm a nightmare to be around, because also I try and get told all the time, right, you're a presenter, not a ski racer. But your ego, like, as soon as my body gets that, oh my God, I'm wearing the ski racer hat, I'm back, she's back. You just think, oh God, I've got to be strong, I've got to be great. Whereas actually you don't need to be to do this. But I still try and be the best that I can be, which isn't a negative.
Well, and it reminded me again of what you were saying about this. There's no such thing as perfection. You know, there's strengths and weaknesses to being an athlete. There's strengths and weaknesses to being, you know, other types of people and other experiences and all those things. So then that's kind of like some of the difficulties with carrying athlete skills and traits through to like the next areas of life. But what's the best lesson that you took from skiing, your times as an athlete, that you've actually taken into other areas of your life?
I mean, this is super easy, and it's handling failure. I still search places where I can say yes to something where I know I'm not going to be the best. So, because I've got this motto now, I never lose, either I win or I learn. And there are a lot of times where I don't perform where I want to in everything in life, from public speaking to TV presenting to you know, paddle tournaments. But those are all moments where you can look back and reframe that and make that a better version of you in the future. You have that power. So I'm very good at bouncing back, and I'm very good in my friendship group of helping people deal with those hurdles. Because I think that we only realize how great we can be when we face that adversity. Adversity gives us that chance to choose how we respond to it. And you can respond and actually be completely in the doldrums. I think, you know, the roller coaster of life, actually going up the roller coaster, there's a lot of anticipation, excitement, and coming down. You know that when you come down, the only way after that is up. So you rebuild yourself, and you can choose how you rebuild yourself when you face those dark times. And the only way to better yourself is facing the dark times. Otherwise you would just stay on this pathway. Like, the only way to have higher highs is to have those lows.
Well, I saw in an interview you said that your catchphrase was "no falls, no balls," which kind of suggests that
Oh, did I?
you're just very accepting of I think I saw that on on the interview. No falls, no balls. I like it. I think it's a very clear, direct
Well, I
statement,
think
and makes total sense, because
like
it kind of
diving,
means that you're accepting of the fact
yeah.
that failure is inevitable. And say again.
Mm. Well, I think actually
Um,
skiing and diving are really similar like that, because
yes.
you will fall when you learn and you will fall when you're a pro. And I love that, because some people think you've just got to you've just got to learn the sport and then you'll be great. I'm like, no, you've got to always fall, because in diving, if you can do a triple somersault, then you should be doing a quad. If you could do that every single day with your eyes shut, you've got to have that progression.
Yeah.
And when you have that progression, you're going to fall. You're going to make massive mistakes. So that's actually quite a lot of synergy with our sports with that.
Absolutely. But and it's also the fact that, as you say, it's an inevitable thing, and you've got to continue pushing yourself. That is a very powerful position to be in, when you know that failure is going to come at some point, so you can prepare for the rebound and prepare for the eventual run to success.
Mm. Well,
Kind of tie
it
it up
gives you that
with what
grit.
you've
I
experienced.
talked
How,
about,
yeah,
I talked about that like obsession with athlete autobiographies, and I didn't have a reason to be the best. And then, my mum died when I was 21. The last time I saw her was the Turin Olympics. I had to pick myself up from that and find out who I was without her, because she'd been massively impactful in my career. Then the injuries started happening, then the funding cuts, all of that. But, they build you up, all of that adversity you have to face. That's what the athlete autobiography grit is, that these elite athlete, the world champions have. And you don't all get to be world champion after it, but you will all be a stronger person of yourself when you've come out of those and realized what place they have in defining your personality, I guess.
I mean, that's what I was exactly thinking there when you were talking earlier. You were like, oh, but I was the opposite of these people, like Lance Armstrong, who were sort of against the odds succeeding. But then, from my position, having kind of looked at your story as a whole, like coming into this podcast, I thought, well, hold on a minute. Like, to me, it seems like an overwhelming amount of adversity that you came through, and so many challenges. So, like, when you were saying that, I was actually thinking, like, I'm not that doesn't seem like the case for me. Like, it seems like you've battled all sorts of
But
things.
that's me now. That's me now. I was telling you till I was 18, and when I up to that point, I hadn't really gone through anything life changing, any grief, anything, any hardships. Like, it had all been handed to me on a plate. And then obviously you never want this to happen to you, but then things start happening and you realize that you are stronger than these challenges you face, and that helps you not just become a better athlete, because this podcast is about superseding the skills of an athlete and making that a human progression, I guess.
Yes. So, and that's a beautiful segue, actually, into my next question, because in terms of that, what does success look like for you now?
Success is having the confidence to keep pushing myself out of my comfort zone, to keep saying yes to things that might make me scared, to have that healthy relationship with normalizing fear. I've written a kid's book called Turning Belly Butterflies into Dragon Wings, because I think that we need to, as a society, reframe fear, especially for young people, because it can be really crippling. People are so worried about saying they're scared, but we're only scared when we do new stuff and we push ourselves. So actually, we should celebrate the fact that we have the opportunity to feel fear.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think that's so powerful. And I think once you can understand that and are comfortable with that, it creates such a huge transformation in the way that you approach just daily life. It means that you are actually able to go after your dreams and ambitions without the concern of what might happen if you go wrong, because we're all so much more capable than we think we are. And that's something that diving's taught me massively. I did not expect to be able to make it to 3 Olympic Games. I hoped to make it to 1, but to go to more and to do some of the things that I did in the sport and some of the dives I was able to do at my height and everything, it was because of my lack of fear of failure that I was able to do that. But not everyone is in that position. Not everyone can appreciate that. So do you have a solution, a tip to overcome fear?
Well, just reframe it, enjoy it. Like that fear, if you always live without fear, you're living at 80% of yourself. The only way to find fear is to be 100% of you, to go all in with everything. And like you just talked about there, it's quite cheesy, but you've got to disregard the outcome. You've got to have big dreams. You've got to have the confidence for that. But actually, it's the journey that makes you the best version of you. And whatever that journey is, the success, the failures, the getting back up, the doing it again. I love fear. I mean, you can't jump into fear. Sorry for the analogy for diving now. You can't dive into it. You've got to tiptoe towards it, because otherwise it will block you, especially if you're not used to it. I am used to heightened fear. So I can't, there's no point in me going to theme parks, because I'm like, yeah, whatever, blasé. I don't get any rush at all. I used to I did like 8 skydives in a year because I wanted to feel fear, and I didn't have fear that way either. But now I'm like trying to find things where I can tiptoe towards it and get that, like, boom, oh, here it is. Hello, friend. How are we going to deal with this? What are we going to do with this? And it's just fun. And I'm 43. Not many people think like that at 43.
No, I was going to say, that's why you're still skiing down the slope on Ski Sunday with the camera in your face, because you just won that challenge.
Yeah.
Speaking of Ski Sunday, though, obviously it's been running for a long, long time, as we mentioned briefly at the start, before we started recording. And now you're the face of it. It's a show that I used to watch when I was young, because I do enjoy watching winter sports, but I've obviously never been involved in it. And as a Jamaican, I don't like the cold. So for a show to be running that long, what is it about snow sports, first of all, that Brits love so much for it to be so successful now? And when this podcast episode goes out, the Winter Olympics will have already happened, but I'm keen to get involved and watch. So who should I be looking out for, and what should I be excited about in snow sports?
I think Ski Sunday, I mean, when I speak to people about Ski Sunday, a lot of people will be like, oh my God, those crashes at the beginning, they're just crazy. They used to talk about the titles and the crashes. And I was like, okay, the snow sports is far more than just crashes, but it's a bit of a fantasy show. We have 30% of our viewers don't ski or snowboard. It's just something completely different, where they see humans sending it at 80, 90 miles an hour on the slopes, or humans sending it doing these crazy gnarly tricks in the air. It's like watching a different life unfold on the telly. It's absolutely different. And I mean, I also was obsessed with it when I was younger. At 5 years old, I wanted to be a Ski Sunday presenter. I wanted to win the Olympics and be a Ski Sunday presenter, and I didn't achieve the former, but I've reinvented myself to be doing the latter. And I just love the show. I co-present with Ed Lee, who is the most incredibly passionate snowboarder, really quirky, really funny, very authentic. And we are just a tiny team who travel around full of passion for what we do, and so much gratitude that I get to live this life. And for a few years, it's hard because I leave my kids for 7 weeks of the year. And when they were younger, they didn't really understand it, but now they're really proud of what I do, because they get the sport, they watch it. It's a bit weird. Every Sunday they screen time, FaceTime me, and they're watching me on telly. Oh, Mummy! And I'm like, yep, I remember filming that this week. But the music, I think, is what made Ski Sunday. Like that soundtrack as you come in. When I do my keynote speaking and they put it on, I don't like walking out to it because I get too excited. I'm like, oh no, don't put that music on. I'm like, boom, boom, walking on stage, and I'm trying to chill. And I'm like, oh, you've got me absolutely frothing. Yeah, no, I absolutely love being on it. Do you want me to talk about the Olympics?
Yeah. It'd be cool to just hear your thoughts and predictions. But I guess quickly before you do, the reason why I know that I used to watch Ski Sunday from when I was little was because when I watched it on Sunday just gone, as soon as the theme tune hit, I remembered it, and I could feel something inside me recall my younger self. So Yeah, it's absolutely iconic, which is so amazing how music can be powerful like that. But yeah, please
Yeah.
give us your like thoughts, predictions, anything that we should look out for the upcoming Winter Olympics.
But this is coming out afterwards. So didn't you say that?
Yeah,
Or before?
this will be out after the Winter Olympics. So this is
Right.
just for me and Freddie,
I'm gonna,
and also could make
okay.
you look like a visionary.
Now I'm going to give you. So I really believe in The Secret. Do you remember The Secret? Like, you know, you write letters to yourself what you're going to be doing in 2 years, and you do, you put them in the future. So we all write.
Yeah.
Went to our first Olympics, won a gold medal. So I'm going to tell you what's going to happen at this Olympics. Okay, we are going to, as Team GB, have the most successful Winter Olympics we've ever had. Our female athletes are absolutely going to dominate. If we look at freestyle to start with, Charlotte Banks is unbelievable in snowboard cross. She is peaking at the best time. She's got a huge amount of maturity and experience. We know that, I mean, ski and snowboard cross are absolutely ruthless and anything can happen on the day. And she's been on the bad side of luck in a lot of Olympics, but she won this Olympics. If we then move over to Mia Brooks, BBC Young Sports Celebrity of the Year, world champion, X Games gold medalist, Globe winner, teenager still, superstar. She is reinventing authenticity in snowboarding. She is a rock chick. She's out there doing Metallica guitars and then going and enjoying biting into her gold medal. Kirsty Muir in slopestyle, up slopestyle free ski. She's also have won a gold medal. I'm getting all my tenses wrong, but I'm trying to like make this work. But she's absolutely amazing. Came back from injury. Definitely the girl next door. Again, a massive role model for young girls who think they have to be a certain exhibitionist to do adrenaline sport. You don't have to be. Kirsty is just absolutely lovely. I'll talk about our para team afterwards. Let's go over to the sliding track where we again dominated the skeleton boys who have won every World Cup this season. I can't tell you which one of them's going to win because I wouldn't want to put that out there, but one of them won and one of them came second. Our women's bob team are just on fire, absolutely came into the Olympics, peaking to perfection. Our quad in the men's, I'm sorry, I know that you're going to be supporting Jamaica, but we absolutely dominated that. That track was made for us in Cortina. Oh my gosh, let's not forget about the ice dancing duo who performed to Spice Girls. Like they brought it back to an iconic routine. I love the Spice Girls, and I did dancing on ice in 2012. So I also love ice skating because it's so highly skilled. And I think they maybe got a silver. Not that everyone else has got a gold, but still, I think it might be really competitive. So I think they got a silver. And then, unbelievably, because they have been the backbone of snow sports in the UK, Dave Riding and Andrew Musgrave. Dave Riding in alpine skiing and Andrew Musgrave in cross-country skiing, who've been around for so long and have inspired so many generations. In their last Olympics ever, they also both came away with Olympic medals. So it was an unbelievably mind-blowing Olympics.
That's amazing.
You're incredible, Chemmy. That was so cool. I enjoyed that so much.
So good.
Oh,
How excited for it are you now? I can't talk about
I'm
it.
so pumped.
Before, like, oh, I'm so pumped.
Yeah, I'm going to be
Honestly.
watching 24/7, 100%. I can't wait to see everything happen.
Oh my God, I didn't even talk about the
Oh, that was
curlers.
fantastic.
Guaranteed 3 medals.
Yes, the
curling,
curlers. Yeah, I was going to say, because
Oh my gosh. Oh, I love curling as well. There's this
Yeah.
local amusement place that's just opened up
to
near
Bruce
my
not long
house.
ago.
Oh, Bruce is amazing. Sorry. So you'll have to edit that in. I got a bit overexcited and thought I was done, but I can't be done without the curlers because, I mean, they're just,
It's all right, it's
they're
still
just
in.
Yeah.
infallible. Just
Yeah.
Yes.
our curlers just destroy the world. They love the pressure. You've got mixed curling as well now, and we're amazing at that. So it's just, 3 medals guaranteed there. I think what we have to like 7, 8 medals. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
No.
Oh man.
Yeah. And I didn't even talk about our
Amazing.
para GB
Yeah,
team
well,
because they
based on
also
that,
are.
No.
The one person I'm really Mena Fitzpatrick.
No, please, I want the para rundown. The para
very
rundown.
lucky to interview her a lot. She just got injured, but actually I think her injury has come at a great time because she's the most successful Team GB Paralympian we've ever had in winter sports, and we're very good at that. So this injury, in my eyes, is going to take all the pressure off. She's going to come in as the underdog and just boom, nail it with Katie Guest, her guide. We've got Neil Simpson, who's guided by his brother and a former ski racer called Rob Poth, and they won 4 World Cup medals last week. So they're looking incredible. I mean, it's an exciting time to be Team GB in the mountains.
It sounds absolutely stacked. I'm so excited now. Thank you so much for like getting the Winter Olympic juices flowing. I'm gonna be so locked in. I can't wait, and I can't wait for you to look like an absolute visionary with all your perfect predictions. Our final thing before we wrap up this main episode, Chemmy, is this is going to be the title of your episode. If your career was a movie, what would the title be?
Oh, I thought quite long and hard about this because I wanted to put fear in it. I want to talk about how bravery is not the absence of fear, but the conquering of it. But all of that's kind of been done. It sounds a bit bravehearty. And I quite like to make things light-hearted, but with like a profound little drop in. So I was thinking, but you can tell me if this is absolute nonsense. But I thought Behind the Smile, because I do smile a lot.
Behind the Smile.
I spent a lot of money on my teeth, so I smile a lot to show off my teeth. But behind the smile, there's a lot there. There's substance there.
There's substance. Chemmy Alcott, Behind the Smile. Whoa, there you go.
Just to maybe I don't know if I'm like overdoing it, but could I suggest something like Behind the Icy Smile to bring in a bit of a snow element and then even more like intense? I don't know if you like that. We can stick with Behind the Smile.
Icy is a bit mean. It's got
too
to have a
too heavy. Yeah, sure.
Icy
Yeah.
is like
yeah.
Or
amazing.
Smiles Reflected in the Mountains. I don't really know. Colgate adverts. I don't know.
No, I think Behind the Smile is a good one. I was just trying to go too far, but I think Behind the Smile is a great title. Very intriguing.
I think so. I like it. I'm a smiler as well.
I want the list of everyone else's. What are yours, guys? Tell me. What are yours?
I think ours were terrible, weren't they? Mine was terrible. Yeah. I can't remember what I said. I think mine was something like The Fake Jamaican, because Jamaica's done so much for me, and it's been such a huge part of my life, and it's somewhere I want to become even closer to and get to know better and better. But I'm also so British. I grew up here, speak very obviously British. It took me a long time to visit Jamaica, and it's something that's still evolving. So sometimes it made me feel like I wasn't quite a part of that team, but over time I became more like that team. But that's kind of how I felt throughout my career.
Then it should be like the proud non-Jamaica or something.
It could be, yeah. That would definitely be more positive.
You're not fake.
No.
Yes,
no,
I'm
exactly,
really annoyed
exactly.
with this isn't. Yeah.
Exactly. But that's the thing.
Yours,
it creates a bit of like a thought process and a conversation, right?
So I can't remember initially what my wording was, but it's something like the unknown strength or something, because my issue is always like a bit of actually lacking self-belief, always thinking that I was weak, and I like sort of beat myself up about that, but actually, and like we kind of discussed in this episode, I was actually a lot stronger than I always gave myself credit for. So it was something like connected to that, but I don't think that was the exact wording.
Nice.
But yeah, unknown strength or
good.
Yeah.
I also had grip it.
So that's locked in. Well, yeah. Grip it.
Rip it. That's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Rev it. Anyway, sorry, you keep trying to move on, and I'm like too busy chatting. I forget that you're actually trying to edit this and people listen to it.
No, but this is the better. This is what we like, actually.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's let's say, off piste. And you know what's cool as well, actually, is that like one thing with diving is like, and it happened in this episode, is that it's like the perfect sport for metaphors and similes. But we've used like skiing related ones this episode as well. So there's a nice overlap there too. But yeah, I mean, Chemmy, I just want to say, like, just as we're, to kind of wrap up this main episode, I want to say a massive thank you. I think you're how open and honest and fun, but also like so much of what you said is so profound, and I think so helpful and so valuable. And and even what you said about trying to raise your sons in a way that they understand that they're more than just their achievements. And I think for athletes in particular, that message is massive. And just for being so honest with the things that you've learned and for sharing that with us, I really appreciate that. So thank you so much.
Well, hopefully I haven't put you guys off having kids one
Yeah.
day. I realize I was a bit too detailed with that information.
Sorry, we don't have to worry about the peeing yourself part all the time anyway, so it's all good.
No.
Yeah, maybe just delayed it. That's all. But yeah, that is where we will wrap up this main episode. So yeah, Chemmy, once again, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, guys. It was great.
If you haven't joined us on our Patreon, amazing.
So
and yeah, if you haven't joined us on our Patreon yet, Chemmy will be hanging around just a little bit more for one more dive. So if you've not joined that, the link is in the show notes. We will see you in the next one. Thank you.